The bus is leaving the station. Welcome aboard the 4 to 7 podcast. I am Chris, joined as always by my co host Jerry. It is all June, no swoon, baby. We have reached the month of June, and it looks like the Jew Jinx is once again running its course, doing its thing. As Juan Soto seems to have finally, woken up. And the Yankees got punched in the punched in the mouth by the Dodgers, I should say. But they bounced back against Cleveland. The Mets have split with the Dodgers, so a lot of Dodgers in our lives lately. But yeah, how are you doing this evening?
All things considered, I mean, can't complain about a split in LA. Even though it could have been a sweep, but I know how it went the last time we went out there, so I will take this and run with it.
Yeah,
especially considering what's going on in the rest of the NL East today.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, that Braves Diamondbacks game, that epic collapse by the Braves.
I have Braves fans ready to concede, and they will not trick me. I've been here before.
I get where I understand where you're coming from, but honestly, I kind of don't know how. I mean, it's a long. There's still like
logically yes.
There's still 100 games left, but I don't know how you recover from that.
Well, not even that, and the fact that plus that they've lost a couple more pitchers over the past few weeks, including Smith-Shawver, who, for all the other injuries they've had and guys that they've lost, actually was turning into something. And now he's done for at least this year, might be all in next year too. And Strider has not looked like Spencer Strider. His velocity looks down, and
he's been getting hit.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I avoided Spencer Strider in fantasy this year. It's I drafted him 5th overall last year, and then of course a couple of starts in, he's done. So this year I was a little more wary. Not that I necessarily thought he'd be bad, but I just was worried about the injury factor. But yeah, it does seem like it does seem like teams have figured him out a little bit. As good as his stuff is when it's on, when he gets hit hard. So it is one of those things where he has a weakness, I guess you could say, that can be exposed. So
there is something to me about trusting a guy with 2 Tommy Johns. I mean, I we've kind of miraculously gotten to this place where one Tommy John is almost it's like maintenance.
It's like a rite of passage, as a starting pitcher in MLB.
And you can still have a career after 2. There's been that list is growing more and more. But it's also one of those things that, from a fantasy perspective, I would not want to touch, because if it happens again, that's it. There's nobody that's come back from 3, not yet.
Yeah,
we're not that far. We're not that far ahead in advance.
Yeah, two is pushing the envelope. You gotta be, you gotta be real special to come back from 2.
Which by the way is why whatever's happening with Ohtani is very interesting to me, because if I'm the Dodgers, I know he's good, and I know he wants to do it, but do I run that risk?
Yeah, do you really want to let him do it?
And especially because this is uncharted territory. If he were to pitch and he gets a third, I know when hitters get it, the effects aren't as bad, and they can usually come back.
But could 3 Tommy Johns have adverse impacts on a hitter? You just don't know because you haven't seen it.
Yeah, nobody's done that. There's no roadmap for that.
Yeah. It seems like a 3 and you're done type of thing. I don't even. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if he gets 3, he's never pitching again. But I mean, also
what you do now. Because normally when a pitcher's coming back, it's okay, well, he's got to work out by himself, and then we'll let him rehab in the minors for 2 months. What do you do with the guy who's the MVP? You can't just send him to AAA. You need him.
Yeah. He Yeah, like he's I guess whatever's going on, like, because didn't he start like throwing recently, like
Yes,
trying to like warm up or like try and work himself up to like did he throw live BP?
I think I want to
I
say
think he
when they
did.
were at City Field, I think he either did live BP or a simulated game,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's the most they can do for him.
Yeah, and then like you didn't really hear anything about it after, like you didn't hear
No,
like, oh, yeah, and you would think it's peculiar because he's like he's the face of he's the face of the league. Obviously, his boy Ippy took the fall for him like he needed to because Shohei Ohtani is the face of baseball, but like he has this live BP, and you would think for a guy who is basically like the modern, who's like the modern day Babe Ruth who pitches and hits at a high level. Him throwing a live BP for the first time in like 2 years. It's been like 2.5 years since he last pitched,
yeah,
and you don't hear any follow up like, oh, it went well, or oh, he suffered a setback, or
or
there's just,
his fastball reached this.
yeah, there's just like radio silence on that BP and no real follow up or update as to when he might come back to pitch. Like, I don't even necessarily, like, I don't know if it happens this year, or I wonder if they want to, like, instead of being a starter, what if they just want him to like be like a reliever? You could DH, and then you
Yeah,
can come
or
out of
just
the
leave you
bullpen.
in.
You come out of the bullpen. Like they kind of like Tanner Scott hasn't been the most reliable closer. I know he got it done today, but
Yeah, yeah.
you bring out Ohtani. You could bring out Ohtani. He could throw gas for like an inning or two.
Which we see that with guys who have had careers that have been altered by Tommy John surgery. Like I think most notably of Kerry Wood. It eventually got to a place of okay, your fastball's still live and your breaking stuff's as good as it's always been. Okay, you can't throw 7 innings. We bet you can throw two. And had a nice little mini career doing that. There's no and turned into people talk about like all time. It's like, man, guy who doesn't look right in this jersey, like Kerry Wood being anything other than a Cub, much less a Yankee. Very weird to me. But then it's like he was such a
I erase that from my memory. Like I don't have any recollection of Kerry Wood being on the Yankees. Like what year was that? 2005, 2006?
I think that might have been like 2010.
Oh,
Um, but
yeah.
he had turned himself into such
Still
a
no
valuable
memory of that.
reliever, and the Cubs weren't good. And they're like, all right, you deserve another shot to go win something. Here
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, I see now. I guess he was I guess they sent him to the they sent him to the Guardians in 09, or he
Oh,
signed
that's
with the
right.
Guardians.
Cleveland traded him to New York. I forgot that.
Yeah, and then I think yeah, they flipped him to us at the 2010 deadline. But yeah, literally I have zero recollection of that. Like I'm not even kidding.
With the Yankees, he went 2-0 with an 0.69 ERA, nice, in 24 games, including 21 straight scoreless appearances, serving as the bridge to Mariano Rivera in the 2010 postseason. But
Wow.
they did not they declined their option for him for the next year, and then he went back to Chicago.
Yeah, he went back to Chicago and yeah, retired a Cub. But yeah, no, I guess he evidently he played a very significant role on the Yankees in that postseason run. Maybe just because they didn't maybe just because they didn't get it done again. They lost to Texas. Like maybe that kind of goes forgotten because they didn't win. But
He
yeah,
got
I
to be a
guess.
part of one of the series wins against the Twins. That must have been nice for him.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah. I
sick.
guess. Yeah, I guess Kerry Wood. Yeah, I guess Kerry Wood was a Yankee. So yeah, I learned that today. But yeah, so there could be a parallel there where maybe that's something. If he is going to pitch at all, maybe that's something you explore because then like you're not necessarily losing him as a hitter. Like because like is
Oh,
there a rule against like someone DHing and then coming out of the bullpen? I don't think there's any rule against that, right?
No, he would just be
He
in
would
the
just take
DH
his
slot,
own. He would be pinch hitting for himself, basically.
essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's like he's
yeah,
already out there.
yeah. Because I don't know. Starting him, like bringing him back as a starter. You invested $700 million over the next 10 years. Obviously you're only paying $2 million of that a year until 10 years from now. But eventually that $689 million check is gonna come due. I think you'd want to get as much as you possibly can. Like, yeah, you already got one World Series, but if you get one World Series in 1 year of Shohei Ohtani, that's like kind of not enough.
I mean, and plus, like, say this works, then you don't have to worry about like they did give Tanner Scott his contract already, so that's on the books. But then you don't have to be like, well, we got to go get someone else. It's the ninth's taken care of. We got him.
Yeah,
Or however, when it's like, well,
yeah, you
we got
can
one more to
make Tanner Scott the eighth inning guy.
Yeah.
Shohei the closer, however you wanted to work it. I'm sure they can figure something out that would, based on who's pitching well, I'm sure they could figure out, they have enough pieces they could string together. I mean, their bullpen isn't bad by any stretch. So Shohei, I think, would make it like elite though. Because obviously, yeah, Tanner Scott is having his issues. Like I'm actually kind of close to giving up on him in one fantasy league. Only because like pitching, like when they get shelled, it's like negative points. So like if they blow a save, it's bad. So I'm like, man, this guy's like costing me wins. I got to get rid of him. But
I don't know what it is, but like for some reason, like we see him well. I don't know why.
Yeah,
especially in City Field. But then we also got him the other night too.
Yeah. A lot of I feel like a lot of other teams are starting to see him pretty well too. But yeah, I mean, yeah, NL East is struggling outside of the Mets. I mean, you had the Marlins got swept. The Colorado Rockies have swept the baseball series and now have 12 wins, courtesy of their series against the Miami Marlins. So they're down pretty bad. Toronto crushed the Phillies today. Luzardo has been struggling, as we talked a little bit about that before we went on the air. So
on my life, he was playing against my dynasty team, and he's on my dynasty team. On my life, he's playing against me.
On your life, because of course he is. But yeah, so Mets are in a pretty good position right now to gain some ground on their on their lead in the NL East. So they're currently a game and a half up of the Phillies. So yeah, things are pretty good. Do you want to start with the Mets and their series with kind of go over their series with the Dodgers, and obviously they swept the Rockies too. But you want to give your State of the Union on the Mets for this episode?
Weirdly enough, maybe the most important thing that came out of this series was, I think the most defining thing that I took from the NLCS loss last year was just that the starting pitching looked overwhelmed in that series, and never once was there a starting pitcher in that series where it was, hey, give me the ball, we're good today. The two games they won in that series, the offense jumped the Dodgers early, gave the starting pitching a good cushion, and they didn't blow it from there.
Yeah, they didn't. They just did enough.
And yet, like, coming out of this series, I mean, you look at the effort Monday night, and Paul Blackburn in his first start. I remember being very confused by this when they decided that they were going to. I knew he was going to come back, and they wanted to make it a 6-man rotation, which serves a purpose because Senga's always operated with extra rest. And yeah, you don't want to mess that up right now. I know that they want to do that to help pad Clay Holmes because he's getting used to a starter's workload. He hasn't done that in 7 years. And yeah, he's doing well. So you don't want to, like, yeah, let's.
You don't want anyone to be on too short rest. You don't want anyone getting burnt out.
And especially because the starters have been going shorter, at least to start the year. I will say that's the other impressive thing about this series. All the starting pitching got to at least 6 in this series. Paul Blackburn, I stand corrected. Paul Blackburn threw 5, but again, his first start in 10 months, because he got hurt in early August last year. And I was concerned, like, okay, yeah, put him back in, make it a 6-man rotation. That makes sense. Maybe you break him in against a little easier of a lineup than the Dodgers. He was fine. And he didn't blow that game. It was, I believe we had the lead when Blackburn went out of that game, and then ended up being a pretty tense game that we win in 10 innings. Tyler McGill, as I said in the Discord following Tuesday's game, that stat line won't stop me because I can't read. You will not fool me.
Can't keep falling for it.
Griffin Canning, I think I said on the show coming into this, I don't know if it was in our season preview or during the offseason, but I said there was so much talk after last season that the Mets had created their own pitching lab. And I said that Griffin Canning was going to be the true test because everyone points to Minaya and Severino having the years that they did last year, but they had seasons in their past that made you go, all right, maybe they could put it back together. You know, it was whether it was injury or loss of form or whatever, but they had shown at the major league level they're good. Griffin Canning was coming out of the Angels, who not just that their record speaks for themselves, but their reputation as not being able to really develop their own talent, especially pitching.
Yeah, pitching has especially been a problem for them. I mean, it seems like a lot of Tyler Anderson is having a pretty decent year, but he's like the first Angels pitcher that was good on the Angels that I can remember in like the last.
And remember, he bounced around.
Yeah.
He was a Rocky, he was a Pirate, he was a Dodger.
Yeah, like Andrew Heaney, terrible on the Angels, not a good Yankee. Now somehow is he's somehow is having a resurgence renaissance year with the Pirates. And then Griffin Canning, same thing. Like
I believe was a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken. Griffin Canning.
Andrew Heaney or Canning?
Canning. I believe Canning was a first round pick. He went 6-13 last year. He's already got 6 wins by June 4th. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and his ERA, wasn't his ERA like in the 4s or the 5s last year?
Yeah, the lowest ERA he's had for any season in his career was 3.99, and that was 2020. His ERA right now is 2.90. I don't know if it'll be there for a full season, but I had said coming into this year, if they can make him into a passable major league pitcher, again, I don't know how long this will hold up. I'm glad we've gotten this from him, and I wouldn't even necessarily say it's been overwhelmingly dominant, but more often than not, when Canning goes out there, you feel like, okay, whenever he comes out of this game, we're still going to be in it. He's done that and then some. And so credit to the Mets pitching lab that almost immediately you could tell, like, oh, he's definitely something different. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I watched every Angel start, but as someone that does watch the West Coast games and falls asleep to that and saw him early on in spring training, it's okay, there's talent, but there's like every guy that goes in the first round of the draft has talent, but like, do you have structure? They've given him structure, and now you can feel confident about. I mean, I don't know if I'd have him starting game 1 of a playoff series, but if he's my game 4 starter, okay, we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe the real proof in the pudding is Jose Castillo.
Yeah.
What he's been doing lately.
That, again, a forced hand there because, Minter and Danny Young both go down within 3 days of each other. And then Genesis Cabrera just did not work out. And so I think they needed any kind of lefty. Now, they have Brandon Waddell for the moment, and I think with him they have options. So they might send him back down, but he will definitely be of use to this staff as the year goes on. I feel like every time they've needed Waddell, whether it's as a guy who, look, we're not in this game, can you give us 5 innings? He's done that. It's, we're in extra innings. Can you give us multiple innings here? He's done that. A couple of tight spots in this Dodger series. Brandon Waddell came in and gave them quality outings. So he'll be in it. But yeah, when Jose Castillo came into the game the other night, I'm like, oh God. And got out of it. I, it's been the weirdest thing, and then today, another solid start from David Peterson, who just continues to prove that I wonder how long he was not healthy, because he got the hip surgery prior to last season, and pretty much from about the point, a little bit before this point last year, from that point onward, this is just who he's been. And I think part of it's ingrained in us to expect the other shoe to drop. No, David Pearson might just be a quality starter at this point, and you now go into his outings like, all right, we're going to be fine tonight.
You expect to be in those games. You're like, all right, like he's going to give us, he's going to give us a solid 5 or 6, and give up maybe 3 runs, and we're gonna be right there in it. Even if the bats are cold, it's like, and obviously my condolences about Francisco Lindor, but it doesn't seem like it's anything too serious. But
no.
you know the lineup, like when Peter, what that lineup you have, like, if you're down, even if you're down like 3-0 after like 5-6 quality innings, that your offense can turn it on and get back in that game and win it.
And might quietly be doing that. I think ever since they decided to reshuffle the lineup, which we talked about this going into the year of, Brandon Nimmo's kind of your ideal number 2 hitter behind Lindor. And there had been success last year that proved that.
Yeah.
But it's also like Juan Soto's like the prototypical number 2 hitter. What do you do here? And you should stack it in a way where it's, you should have the maximum number of guys in front of Pete on base, however that happens. And I think they tried to do it where Pete's your 3 hitter and Nimmo's your 4. And I said, the skill set that made Brandon Nimmo the player that was valuable to the Mets, it's not as a cleanup hitter. And that's not an insult. Like, you don't have to be a cleanup hitter to be an important part of your team. He had proved that. And I felt like they were trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And I credit Mendoza for not trying to keep that going, instead of realizing, what, let's just try it at the 2, and you can still put your best hitter in the 3 spot. Like, that's not a bad thing either.
That's what the Yankees have been doing with Judge. It's what the Yankees have been doing with Judge, which I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I kind of feel like he should be batting second. Like, I don't know. I've always been a believer your best hitter should bat second, or maybe even first. But third is still acceptable, because then, you're guaranteeing that they're coming on in the first, the Judge is coming up in the first inning, and he has runners on, even better. But I still feel like I would, I would bat him second, because I want to get as many at bats out of him as possible.
But I do think this has made the Mets offense more optimal, because putting more guys on in front of Soto, I think, has allowed Juan Soto to start being more of himself again. I know he didn't get an extra base hit today, but before that, he'd had 5 straight games with an extra base hit and had a couple of towering home runs, including the one the other night where he went down to one knee, went out and got it, and then had a pretty good one in Dodger Stadium the other night too, off Kershaw. So we're starting to see, and people could say, oh, well, that started against the Rockies. Like, hey, look, maybe he just needed to see a few of these go out, but I think we're getting that back again.
Yeah, sometimes, like, the Rockies were like the get right series for him, and the Dodgers were like the stay right series for him. Like, that was like the test. Like, all right, you get right against the Rockies, you're going to be facing, minor league pitching, minor league everything, in your ballpark. Now you'll be facing, and then now you'll be facing them again in the friendly confines of Coors Field, with the Rocky Mountain air carrying the ball out. But the Dodgers was like, all right, like, and granted, you didn't necessarily face their best pitchers, but still, you weren't facing like slapdick pitchers either. So,
well, the slapdick pitcher is also on the IL at the moment.
Yeah.
Blake Snell said that. I feel compelled to bring that up.
We miss you, Blake Snell. Well, I mean, maybe we don't, but Blake Snell, what a guy.
Juan Soto saw Clayton Kershaw, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, I know what to do in this park.
Yeah, he remembered who he was and what to do very quickly. So that was a definitely a stay right series for Soto. So that's all you can really you just ask. He can only hit, and he can only face the teams that are on the schedule and the pitchers that are going that day. So as long as he keeps hitting the ball out, and he looks like he's playing. It looks like he's playing with a lot more juice now. Not that he necessarily was lacking that juice, but you're not really hearing about like lack of hustle or any of that bullshit either.
Or that he's miserable. He's out there doing the bottle flip challenge.
Yeah,
in the ninth inning in the dugout.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, you should probably, you're playing a championship team. You should probably be a little more focused on the game instead of flipping bottles.
You would think the world championship team would have offered more of a game.
You would think.
I don't know what more you want from us. Before I forget, though, shout out to the Atlanta Braves for trading for Griffin Canning and then cutting him a month later.
Thank you.
Looking out.
Yeah. Your boy Nimmo had quite the day today.
World of a day for him.
Yeah, with everything going on with his two besties breaking up on the timeline, and then
you think they told him? Yeah, or they're like, we'll let him find out after.
I think he's heard. I think he's heard like both sides of the story already, and he's obviously he's got that going on in his first at bat, and he struck out his first at bat, right? And then
I think he homered.
Well, he did go yard, but I think his first at bat he struck out, and then he homered his second at bat, like in the third or fourth inning.
You're right. Yeah, third inning he did.
A certain beat reporter was tweeting about it.
And also, I do want to put, as long as we're talking about it, because we were discussing this before we went on air. Nick Castellanos did go 3 for 3 today, but no home runs. And the Bit's in trouble this year because the Pope died, and then he went 1 for 12. And then, yes, 3 for 3, but
no home runs.
The meme is not, and there's a base hit into left field from Castellanos. No, you have an expectation, and
you need a drive from Castellanos. So it's not the meme is not back yet, but certainly it's on I guess you could say it's on life support at the moment.
It's 2025. I mean, this could flip tomorrow.
This could flip, this could flip at any time very quickly. I mean, hard to believe we're a month away from like all the chaos of last summer that happened. So just imagine what this summer is going to be like, and just imagine. I'm predicting a big July for Castellanos.
It could be.
Yeah, he might have a little bit of a June swoon, but July he will feed families when the next bad thing inevitably happens.
Listen, if there's an R. Bud Dwyer moment on either side, I mean, that'll be the ultimate test.
Yeah, that would be the true test, as some people around here on the Ascension Podcast Network like to say. But
I also want to point out for the Braves is that they had won 700 something in a row, leading by 6 going into the ninth inning before today. And the pitcher that started the ninth inning for them was a guy named Blewett.
Yep.
In addition to, they have Aaron Bummer on their staff. Their bullpen has a Blewett and a Bummer. Like, that's right out of the Wilpon era. Like it.
Yeah, that writes itself.
Did we get Freaky Friday with the Braves? I mean, I'm not calling it, but like that, I looked at that. I'm like, that's us.
Yeah, there might have been some Freaky Friday, or you like or being John Malkovich going on.
Yeah,
you wake up and you're somebody else. So
happened again.
Yeah, because with people like Bummer and Blewett, like the jokes just write themselves. I remember Pitt had a kicker named Blewett.
I think the same spelling.
I think one of them was I want to say the Pitt guy was Blewitt. Isn't this guy Blewitt?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Still a blew it nonetheless. And
You might as well invite Grant Balfour out of retirement just to round it out.
Yeah, like relief, relief pitchers relief pitchers and kickers are basically like the most, and maybe hockey goalies are like the most volatile positions in sports. So with a name like that, it's not a good, good things are not bound to happen. I may have overlooked this at the beginning of the year when I picked the Braves to go all the way, which, I mean, they're not dead yet, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how you bounce back from that type of a loss, and especially in a much tougher NL East than I would say you're accustomed to. So yeah, I don't know. Like, they're even behind the Nationals now. So I mean, they're only how many games are they? Like 5 games out of the wild card. Yeah, I mean they're 7 games back of the wild card. So I mean, they're still not dead and buried, but I'm gonna say I don't see how you come back from that. What happened?
I really don't think we made enough noise when he was playing that there was a goalie named Lettinen. I don't like. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
People. As far as the Braves, again, I'm not Sal Licata. I will not be sitting here on June 6th saying that they're dead. No, I know they don't look good. I know there are a lot of logical reasons to look and go, they're in trouble. I have been traumatized too many times. Will not do it.
I understand. I'm not going to say they're dead. I'm just going to say I don't think they're coming back.
Now, there is a big stretch coming up for the Mets, and this will be between the 17th and the 26th of this month, which will be the first time that we've played them this year. The first 3 will be there, and then the last 4 will be in New York. And in between that is a trip to Philadelphia. That is a crucial set. But I would say in that span of 11 or 9 days, they play them 7 times. They got to win at least 5 of those. If you have and who knows how the Braves play between now and then, but say they're still in roughly this spot in terms of how many games back they are. If you got a chance to bury them, do it. Like that.
Yeah.
I kind of remember being in this similar spot in 06 when the Mets finally broke the Braves NL East streak. They had a series in Atlanta, I want to say right before the All-Star break, and it was a 4-gamer. And the Braves weren't even necessarily the second best team in the East that year, but it was one of those like, hey, look, we've had our issues with the Braves in the past. Let's put this thing to bed right here. And they smoked them. And at that point, it was, they're not blowing this.
If you got them in a chokehold, don't let go.
Yeah. Don't let them get to the rope.
Yeah. So, that'll definitely be some big series coming up. And, the Yankees got some big series coming up with the Red Sox. Kind of a lot of like parallels between like kind of like what the Yankees and Mets are doing like lineup wise in a way. Because I mean, you mentioned how they're batting Soto like 3rd now, rather than 2nd. So I mean, like that's what the Yankees are doing with Judge, and like in a way, like like I was saying before, would much rather just you bat your best guy 2nd and get him any extra at bats you can, maybe even consider leadoff. But with the way the Yankees have their lineup set up like now, or at least in tonight's game, where you start off with Grisham and Ben Rice, who both should be trusted to produce and be able to at least get on base if nothing else. Then you have Judge, and then like as long as it's kind of works because Bellinger is hot right now still. Yeah. So you put Bellinger in the cleanup spot, and like for right now, I'd say that like Judge in the 3-hole does kind of work. But like I feel like when Bellinger does cool down eventually, like I don't know if we really have like a true cleanup hitter. Like we have a good lineup. Like Paul Goldschmidt has been overachieving this year. Bellinger has been overachieving for like the past like month. and Judge obviously is Judge. I think Ben Rice and Trent Grisham, and like Austin Wells, guys like that are like they're good and all, but they're also kind of like hot and cold. Like you don't always know, you don't always know like what you're gonna get out of them. Like Volpe, kind of the same thing too. Like he's just too inconsistent. So like there isn't really another like true cleanup hitter you could put there. So basically, I just hope Bellinger can stay as hot as long as he can, and I hope if he does cool down, you got to hope he gets hot again at the right time, because that kind of like puts a lot of things into place for the lineup, and being able to like structure it where you actually like have someone you can back clean up like on a consistent basis.
Wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know if you saw earlier today, but during BP, they had Paul Goldschmidt taking reps at second base. Thoughts?
I did see that. My thoughts are, I don't have many thoughts on it, to be honest with you, but I guess my thought would be, my thoughts would be, if you could give him the reps, it can't hurt, because obviously, I mean, I don't know what's gotten into DJ LeMahieu, where he's suddenly, where he's actually been like he's actually been like a major league hitter, like for like the past like week or so, where he's actually like doing pretty well. I think he's another one where he came back. When he came back, it was against the Rockies, and that's kind of like where his season, I believe, started, was in Colorado. So maybe the trick to success, or to like fixing
no, that's not entirely true. He was good in the Subway Series. Because I remember being very pissed off.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's right. He hit a home run, and he hit a home run off Griffin Canning. And I remember being like, oh, Griffin Canning did what? That's right.
No less.
DJ LeMahieu's hot streak, I guess, goes back a little bit further than that. I don't know what's gotten into him, but obviously can't expect that to last forever. You got Jazz Chisholm back now, and he's been hitting the ball pretty well. He hit a home run. He hit a home run the other night in his first game back, and I know he got. Did he hit a home run today?
No, Bellinger did.
Oh yeah, Bellinger hit a home run. That I think Jazz Chisholm did. I think Jazz Chisholm did something. Jazz Chisholm did go 3 for 4, and he batted in the fourth run. So he did have a productive night. So
I do think it is a testament to Paul Goldschmidt that I'd have to look this. Paul Goldschmidt's either my age or he's a year younger. He is okay. He's just under a year. So I'm September 86. He's September 87. So he's going to be 38 this year. Yeah. And I'm sure that they broached this idea to him, and credit on Paul Goldschmidt for saying like, all right, I'll try, because the traditional idea of a first baseman is just these hulking, lumbering dudes. Yeah, why would you ever put them at second? They don't have the range or the athleticism. Well, and I've always said I think this is Paul Goldschmidt's best trait, and I think what defines him is he's maybe the most athletic first baseman we've ever seen, because Paul Goldschmidt's a guy that was in his prime stealing 15 to 20 bases every year. What other first baseman do you know was doing that? And also use that to play first base. Really, I believe has multiple gold gloves. So credit to him that he's still limber enough to, because I don't really remember him playing any other positions in Arizona. He just always was their first baseman. So to go out here, and the Yankees are asking you to do this, and maybe it's just an experiment. Maybe it never actually comes to fruition. But the fact that he's willing to go out there and at least give this a shot in BP and see if it works, good on him.
Well, you know what? Yeah, it's like good for him for doing it with an open mind. Obviously, unlike certain players on the Red Sox who don't,
who are much younger,
who don't want to do anything. But That's neither here nor there, but I think it's a good, it doesn't hurt to try it in BP. Maybe they're trying to see if there's anything there, trying to, as Giancarlo's progressing in his rehab and making his way back to playing, maybe they're trying to prepare for life with Giancarlo, because you don't want to sit out, you don't want to sit out Ben Rice.
Right.
But you also, you don't want to sit out Ben Rice or make him like a platoon player. Like, you're in a position right now where you can't really take Ben Rice's bat or Paul Goldschmidt's bat out of the lineup at this point. They're both very good at different things, and they kind of complement the lineup very well, both of them. So you really can't take either of their bats out. So, I mean, it sounds crazy, but you got Jazz at third. DJ LeMahieu's not going to be hitting at this clip forever. I'm sorry, but when you get to that point, maybe the plan is make Ben Rice the everyday first baseman, and maybe you see if Paul Goldschmidt is passable at second base, and maybe this is just totally insane, and maybe he was just dicking around. I don't know, but thinking about it deeper, I mean, if he can do it, if he could do it, I'd say why not? Now, it's hard to imagine he'll have very good range at second base, but he does play first base. He still does play first base pretty well. Or I don't know if it's just like Anthony Rizzo derangement syndrome, like PTSD from him, like, fielding that ground ball in that inning in the World Series and just not moving or doing anything. But Paul Goldschmidt has, and I think that's something that, a lot of Yankee fans, myself included, I think that's something a lot of us have overlooked, because like when the Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt in the offseason, I think a lot of Yankee fans were like kind of down on the organization. You just lost out on Juan Soto to the Mets. Feels like maybe there's like a little bit of this like turning of the tide. You go out and get Max Fried, who he had another incredible start tonight. He went 6 innings, only gave up 1 hit to the hottest hitter in baseball right now, Jose Ramirez. He's on like a 30-game on base streak and like a 21, 22-game hitting streak or something like that. So you give up 1 hit to that guy.
We both had him as our AL MVP preseason pick.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, you give up 1 hit to that guy, and he the 1 hit he had was like it was like a high chopper to Jazz, and like it wasn't even like a bad play or a bad throw. It's just like it was chopped in the air for so long that by the time like Jazz was throwing it, he was already at first base.
And no extra base hits for Cleveland tonight either.
Yeah. Yeah, so he gave a 1 hit to Jose. You reverse last night's 4-0 score. So, certainly he'll take that. But, yeah, I mean, I think that, so they got Max Fried. And then, I think the next move they made after that was they signed Paul Goldschmidt. And then I think they traded for Bellinger, if I'm, like, remembering the sequence of moves that they made correctly. I think Devin Williams was first, actually, or second.
They were all like, it felt like the Soto thing happened, and then your guys' 3 dominoes were all pretty quick.
Yeah, it was all like
within like a 5-day span.
It was all like within the next couple of days after that. But like I feel like when we signed Goldschmidt, like the response to it was kind of underwhelming. Myself included. It's like, yeah, this guy might be like kind of over the hill at this point. But he has played a very significant role in the start that the Yankees have had to this season. And
remember, he did win an MVP post-COVID. So like
he won one. Yeah, he won one in 2022. But it kind of like last year I kind of felt like the beginning of the end for him. But he's, as of now, he's proven that theory wrong. But I think that but I guess all this rambling is to say that when the Yankees did sign him, I think a lot of fans overlooked how valuable he'd be defensively as a first baseman, because you don't really think about first base defense, and that's not really what you're looking for out of your first baseman. You're not really thinking about first base defense, but it cost us big time last year. So
it's one of those things to me that usually the guys that do play first base really well usually are the high end guys. Like Pujols, when he was healthy, played first base really well. Mark Teixeira played first base really well. Rizzo, when he was healthy, played first base really well. It's usually the high end guys because it's like, okay, yeah, you expect your first baseman to be at minimum a power guy. You also, like, for the higher end guys, like we talk about Pujols and Miggy, you expect them to be 300 hitters. Like, their offense is supposed to be their selling point. If they can also handle first base well, that's a plus. Like, it's just, okay, he hits 300, he'll hit 30 homers, and he's going to be able to handle the position well. Great. We're all covered there. And then Paul Goldschmidt's whole thing was, well, he does all those things, and he's also going to steal 20 bases. What other first baseman does that?
Base and he's going to steal 20 bases and play first base, not even just like a passable level.
He's got 4 Gold Gloves
at an elite level. So, yeah, no, shouts to Paul Goldschmidt for season he's had, and hopefully he stays healthy, keeps it up.
I do want to tee you up is I haven't had a chance to watch you guys too much this week, but how has Boone approached life in close games without Luke Weaver for what's going to be for the next 6 weeks?
Yeah. So the Yankees are going to be without Weaver for the foreseeable future, for the next 6 weeks or so. Hopefully it's only the next 6 weeks. But let's see. So tonight tonight was not a safe situation. But I'm pulling up the box score real quick.
I think you had Loizaga pitched the ninth.
Johnny Lasagna pitched the Johnny Lasagna pitched the ninth tonight. Tim Hill went 1 1/3. I saw some crazy Katie Sharp, who's like a Yankees like statistician. She tweeted a crazy stat about Tim Hill. I'm gonna try and pull it up.
This is how I know Tim Hill's a better man than me, and I don't even have firsthand knowledge of this, but I feel like if he had done something, we would have known about it.
Yeah.
If Tim Hill's pitched this well all season, if I was Tim Hill, I'm walking around there going, I could have handled this problem for you last October, but y'all didn't want to trust me.
Yeah, and they did that. And he did that. He did that on the game on Sunday too. He struck out Freddie Freeman on Sunday.
I'd be raising all kinds of noise.
And it was like, huh? Yeah, now you fucking do this. Still makes me mad because, like, I don't know, like if I'm 15 beers deep and I'm on my couch and I know that's the correct decision, why the fuck doesn't our manager? But
yeah, if I'm Tim Hill, I'm walking past Boone like I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, and the chef's kiss to this all is as of 3 hours ago, when Tim Hill's evening ended, according to Katie Sharp, he was a Yankee statistician, and works for like StatHead. Batters are now 0 for 14 against Tim Hill as a Yankee when the bases are loaded. And Max Fried in games following a Yankee loss this season, 7 starts, a 0.57 ERA, 44 strikeouts in 47 innings pitched. So just a pro's pro.
That's exactly what you want. For a guy after a loss to be like, all right, no, this losing stuff. Stop.
I got it. For your ace to just for your ace to fucking step it up like that. For your ace to just step it up like that after a loss and just be like, like any problems we had or stop with me tonight. That's it. What more could you ask for? But it seems like it's been by committee. I think the plan long term is that Devin Williams will still probably get the majority of the ninth inning work. But since tonight wasn't a safe situation, they go with Lasagna, who I've always liked Jonathan Loizaga, and always felt like more often than not I feel like more often than not, he's pretty reliable.
Kind of feels like someone to a lesser extent is in that Ryan Yarbrough mold of you need him to close, cool. You need him to open, he'll do it. You need him in middle relief, cool. Like just kind of thrives wherever you need him.
Yeah,
He
Devin
may not
Williams,
be the guy that's going to start 30 for you, but you're going to get quality wherever you put him.
Right. Yeah, Devin Williams did get the save on Tuesday night. He did get the save that game. He did give up a run in the ninth inning. It was a where is it? Fucking looking at the box score because I actually didn't watch that game, but he actually gave up 2 runs in the ninth. So still a little still a little shaky there in the ninth inning. When he has a cushion, but I think if you hopefully they can keep getting him into these safe situations where there's a bit of a cushion as he's settling in, so that when you eventually do have to when you eventually do have to count on him for like a to close out like a 1-run game, hopefully he's got it figured out by then.
I will say what's in your favor this weekend is you're going to play a Boston team. Well, you're not going, you're home, but you're playing a Boston team that is in some kind of an offensive rut right now. You'll see Walker Buehler and you'll see Crochet, and maybe it'll be a low scoring game, but boy, does everyone in that lineup, and I'm not counting yesterday's wild game amongst that, but they seem in a deep slump right now.
Yeah. And by the way, for all of you, for all of you trolling ass people out there,
I thought of you
with that, with that Yankee Stadium bullshit. I want you to keep that same energy for Ceddanne Rafaela's walk-off home run. It was 308 feet. That pesky pole, that bullshit ass pesky pole, and that wall is even shorter than the short porch in Yankee Stadium. That would have been a warning track fly out of Yankee Stadiums, and you motherfuckers better keep the same energy.
I'm not even going to disagree with you here because my friend sent me the highlight of like, oh, we just walked it off. I'm like, all right, let me see this. It's bad when Boston, when the home team is trailing and they have a chance to win the game in the bottom of the ninth, and the home team hits a fly ball, and the home team's announcer is completely fooled. Like, I don't know how many people have watched it, but if you can find the Red Sox call of that home run, Dave O'Brien's their play-by-play guy, and he's one of the better ones. I generally enjoy listening to him. At no point did he think that ball was out.
Did he say it was
all of a sudden the ball lands in the first row that he realized it was gone?
Yeah,
I don't think Rafaela kind of did that jog, when a guy doesn't know if a ball's going to go fair or foul, and he's kind of like, and then realizes it's gone. Everyone in the park just thought that was a routine fly ball, and it won the game.
Yeah. Did he say? Did he say it was like a pop fly off of the bat?
That's gonna be lifted down the right field line, giving chase if this is fair, and it's gonna land in the seats.
He had no idea. It's like, again, shit.
I don't say that to say that he blew it or anything. Like, he didn't know because it didn't look like a home run. Usually, if a batter hits a ball in the ninth inning and it looks like that's going out, you're gonna hear it in the home announcer's voice because that moment could be there, and even he didn't think it was coming.
Yeah,
that was so bad. And I enjoy Dave O'Brien. Think he's great, but that tells you how fluky and bullshit that was.
Yeah, and you're a much more, you're a much more neutral party in this affair too. So, just make sure you keep in that same energy. Looking at you, Cutter is king. You'll never guess how many. Yeah, you'll never guess how many. You'll never guess what stadium that's not a home run in.
Yeah, can we put the Williamsport dimensions on that one?
Yeah, fucking for real. Yeah, that might not be a home run at like the Long Island Ducks Stadium.
Hey, listen, they put former major leaguers in those.
They do, yeah. No, they do, but. You understand my point.
Listen, I've seen Jose Offerman. Not that I was there, but the thing I will always remember the Long Island Ducks most for is Jose Offerman literally wielding a bat against somebody.
Yeah, I actually have like a signed Long Island Ducks baseball that's signed by Buddy Harrelson.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay, pretty good.
Yeah, I think
I
like
didn't ever remember him coaching there, but wow.
yeah, I think he
Pretty
was their
good.
manager, or he was either their manager or like a coach, part of that team, like in like the early 2000s.
Huh. It was just one of those things. I just figured I know he was a coach with the Mets for a long time, and I figured it was just one of those things that he just did it until he didn't. Like the Mets basically just said, "Hey, look, you always have a job here as long as you want one." I didn't know he left.
Yeah,
Another Met who left us in the past year. I feel like I should tip my cap for that. That's
for sure. Yeah, I did not. Yeah, I actually
also
didn't
it's worth
realize.
noting he did fight Pete Rose in a playoff series.
King. That's
Yeah.
that is our king right there, Buddy Harrelson.
Oh,
But
he was. I just looked this up. He was part owner of the Long Island Ducks. I didn't know that.
oh, okay, that's what it was.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I knew that I just knew that I had a baseball that was signed by him. From that I with a Ducks logo on it. From a Ducks game that I like went to with my family because when I was like a kid growing up, we'd go to like a Ducks game or two every year because sometimes sometimes my family didn't want to go all the way to Shea Stadium or Yankee Stadium to go to a baseball game from Long Island, so we just go to a Ducks game. They were a lot of fun. I'd like to go back to another one, but yeah, yeah, he fought Pete Rose, so he'll always be a king in my eyes for that.
Plenty of respect around here.
Yeah. But yeah, regarding the Yankees, so yeah, we do have an interesting series with Boston. It'll be an interesting matchup to start the series with Will Warren because he got shelled pretty badly on Saturday in that infamous 18-2 loss to the Dodgers. It was really nice of the Yankees to make sure that game was over in time for the Knicks game to start, for them to not show up to Game 6. So yeah, Saturday was a great fucking day.
And now
But
you know how my June 2009 felt.
yeah, it was, yeah, Saturday, May whatever day it was, May 30th, I believe. But
I will say the Kansas City series next week looks interesting because
yeah, that's intriguing as well.
The Wednesday game will be freed against Noah Cameron, who's the rookie that they've called up, and no one's really touched him yet in his first 5 starts. So
Yeah,
there.
Caglione's up now too, and looks like he's hit the ground running in the majors. Doesn't look like it's too big for him or anything like that. So yeah, that'll be an interesting series. Obviously, another playoff rematch.
I was yesterday years old when I learned that Jack is actually not his birth name.
Yeah,
it's actually an acronym for Jeffrey Allen Caglione. So really, when you think about it, it's Jeffrey Allen Caglione. But that really is, if you want to walk that out.
Yeah, and Henry Davis Jr.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's him though. No, that actually is pretty hard, and I think it gives him more aura points having the the abbreviated first name. But yeah, he's really just Jack, I guess. But yeah,
and then you guys will see Cole Reagans in the finale, and that'll be another test for Will Warren of
yeah,
like,
he just
hey,
made his first he just made his first start back today, I believe. Reagans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had their double header.
Yeah, it yeah, he did he pitch the first game or the second game of that?
I want to say the second.
Okay. Yeah, Kansas City won that game. How did he do? Cole Reagans, he didn't do too good. Only lasted 3 innings, gave up 5, a home run. He did get 4 strikeouts though, and so at least he was. It seems like it was a true outcome type of day for him.
It was a weird game because Matthew Liberatore had been throwing really well for St. Louis too, and in the other game he got lit up.
Yeah,
so.
Actually, he got lit up in the same game.
Oh, I don't know why I thought that was separate. My bad.
Oh, no worries. Everyone accidentally lies on the podcast every once in a while, so
you never know.
we live and you learn, I guess. But I guess I guess the most frustrating thing about that that 18-2 loss and the Dodgers series in general was that Luke Weaver got hurt in that 18-2 loss, because like Will Warren barely got out of the first inning, couldn't get out of the second inning. So even though they were like losing, they just needed guys to like eat innings. I don't know if Luke Weaver actually got hurt during that game or in that game, or like
no, he was warming up, I think, was what happened.
Something came. Well, he did come into the game.
I think it was while he was he came in from the bullpen and was throwing his warm-up pitches, and that's when it happened. So it wasn't even like he took a comeback or off the shin or something. Sometimes things happen in a game and you can't avoid it, and it's just like when it's a muscle thing that just happens.
But I guess I guess he pulled a muscle while he was warming up. But I think he still he still came into the game and pitched, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just I mean, it's frustrating, which I'm sure probably, if you hurt yourself or pull the muscle, I'm sure it doesn't help to go out and actually pitch after. So certainly not ideal. I guess there was a little bit of discourse amongst Yankee fans, as far as how to appropriately react to that Dodgers series, because it is a World Series. It was the World Series rematch, so obviously that's an anticipated matchup. So there are a lot of people, like Yankee fans, who think that it was like more than a series in May, and that the showing that they had, where they got like outclassed, punched in the mouth by them, is discouraging, or is a sign that that they just can't hang with them. But I do remember what you said, what you said in the last episode, how, if they do see each other again, it'll be like 2 different variations of the team, because we still have players that are coming back from injuries, and
moves haven't been made yet.
A whole trade deadline to get through. Right. So I don't, I'm not, obviously you're not encouraged by it, but I don't, I don't want to say that the Yankees are like necessarily dead and buried because of that either. Although, would I necessarily feel good about our chances going up against them after that? Probably not, but
I would say in this case, it's more that you just want to get the emotional boost of, all right, hey, we went there and got 2 off of them. You want to get the lift of, take that. And
at least they didn't get swept. At least they stopped the bleeding, and they were able to get to Yamamoto a little bit. I think even though they had they didn't have the best showing the 2 games before that, I think the fact that they were able to actually get to Yamamoto and take that last game to salvage the series a little bit, I think that goes a long way.
And I think even a game like 18-2, it's not fun as you're going through it, and in the immediate days after, people talk about it. But the further you get
out, 1 loss,
the further you get out from, it's like, okay, that's an aberration result. If we play them again in 7 games, do they get to 4 first? Maybe, but it's not going to be 4 games exactly like that. I wouldn't. We're probably not going to have another game like that against them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hopefully we don't have another game like that, period, this season. Obviously they're going to be you're going to have your days where, it's a punt day, or, you just don't have it that day and things just aren't going your way and you get blown out. But man, 18-2, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not fun to, I mean, The Mets had a few of those against the Nationals where like Jose Reyes came in and was the position player pitching. Not fun. So I get it.
Yeah.
And especially when it's a World Series rematch like that, it's like you want to be the one doing the 18 too. Like it's it's the old joke. It's like everyone jumps on the video game afterwards. Like had to blow off some steam, and it's like 59-0.
Yeah, and that's also like the first series that the Yankees had lost since like the middle of April. So so I don't want to, don't want to sweat it. Don't want to sweat it too much. We got a healthy dose of Boston coming up. We got a playoff rematch with Kansas City, and Cleveland is Cleveland. They're never slouches either. So I'm encouraged by the bounce back, and excited to see what they do. Excited to see what they do against Boston and Kansas City in the coming week as well.
I will say for you guys after this stretch here, which I know I said the Red Sox have had their struggles, and I would say you're favored in both of those series, but it is one of those things where anything can happen in a rivalry series. But after those two, so next weekend is the second one. So after the 15th, between then and the next Subway Series, which starts on the 4th of July, you guys will have the Angels, the Orioles, at Cincinnati, the A's, at Toronto. Like, if you guys, at least if you split these two series, like in total, you've got some runway after that where you guys should clean up for a while. But I don't know what will happen in the second Subway Series, but I feel like you guys will be on some momentum going into it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mets will, definitely have the Mets will probably either be like on fire when the Subway Series comes around or like down horrendously, depending how their upcoming matches, like, their upcoming matchups against like the Phillies and the Braves go. So, yeah, it'll be interesting definitely to see where those teams are at when that time comes. But yeah, Yankees got a chance to win the AL East by the 4th of July. So let's go and let's put this shit to bed now.
I think after we have that stretch against the NL East, we go to Pittsburgh and then home for the Brewers, and then you guys.
End of June, the Mets are in town. I'll definitely, if you want to come up to Pittsburgh for a weekend, you're welcome to come through. We'll go to some games. I know Paul's uncle. He's a big Mets fan. He's going to be there, so it should be a fun weekend. But yeah, so that I think pretty much, I think that pretty much wraps up the Yankees and Mets talk. I don't know if you had any final thoughts on that before we go to our one singular variety segment for the night.
Well, first off, I feel like we would need to follow up on our discussion from last weekend. I do want to shout out the East Carolina Pirates because they did something that is very near and dear to my heart. They got the University of Florida out of here. I will always commend whoever gets UF out of here. It's a big part of my life. I do realize where Pete Alonso went, and there are multiple Mets that went to UF. That sign won't stop me because I can't read. Unfortunately, they did fall short in their regional. They gave Coastal Carolina a run for it. Unfortunately, Coastal Carolina beat them twice, so Coastal Carolina will advance. But pretty wild opening weekend. Top two seeds didn't even get out of their regional. Vanderbilt was the number 1 overall seed. They didn't even get to the final of their own regional. That's never happened before. And that's what I mean is you will always see something you haven't seen before. And there's been 1 seeds that have not got out of the first weekend. They usually at least get to the last game of the first weekend. Vandy didn't even get that. And Wright State knocked them out. Wright State. I ask most folks right now where Wright State is. I don't think they could tell you.
I don't think I could tell you where is it.
It's in Dayton.
Dayton,
the Horizon League.
Wow, that ain't too far from here. It's like about 4 hours away. But Yeah, we're down to the we're down to the super regionals before the World Series. That'll be starting up, I believe, this weekend, right?
Yeah, the first games for that will be tomorrow. We almost
Yeah,
had a very fun one. Little Rock got to the final in
they
Baton
almost
Rouge.
they almost beat LSU, right?
They did. They
Did
took
beat
LSU to the
LSU.
max. Little Rock was the 8th seed in their own conference tournament. They didn't have a winning record in their conference. They didn't have a winning record for the season. They
And
almost knocked LSU off in their own house.
insane.
Unbelievable.
Insane. Yeah, so now we got some ACC action. We got Miami, Louisville. We got the battle of we got the battle of the U's. We got UCLA and UTSA. Okay, what about Texas losing to like their own
Yeah.
branch? Um then you got Duke against Murray State, who came out of there.
A
They came out of
four
the Oxford region.
four seed winning a regional. That's impressive.
Yeah, and then you got LSU did come out. LSU did come out of the Baton Rouge region despite Little Rock's best efforts. They play West Virginia. Let's go LSU.
Fun fact, by the way, about that Miami Louisville series, they're both ACC teams. This is the first time they're playing each other this year.
That's wild. Yeah,
Because that's how big the ACC is now.
I will be I'll be rooting heavily for LSU to beat the brakes off of those inbred losers from West Virginia. I said what I said. And then you got
I just saw I found this out today. Apparently it's a big deal in Pittsburgh that the Steelers have a guy from West Virginia on their team. And I didn't know that the Steelers actually use pitch training facility.
oh
And
yeah.
I guess the West Virginia player who's on the Steelers has just been wiping his shoes on the pit logo, and apparently that's a controversy. Which, like, God,
Yeah, I actually haven't heard about this.
it's great.
But
And like Narduzzi's been tweeting about it, and people are saying like it's a work because the contract for the backyard brawl expires after this upcoming season, and so like maybe Narduzzi's actually mad about this, like for real. But maybe he's also playing this up like, hey, you really gonna let the rivalry go dormant again after this? Come on, you don't really want that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
way to drum that back up.
let's renew. We need to continue those backyard brawls.
With no dog in the fight, 1,000% that needs to happen.
Yeah, and then you got Oregon State against Florida State, UNC Arizona, and Auburn against Coastal, number 13 ranked or the 13th seed Coastal Carolina.
And I just think it's very funny that Coastal is from a random city in South Carolina. They have a
Like
very
Myrtle
funny
Beach.
mascot called the Chanticleers.
Yeah.
When they won in 2016, I was all in on them. So they're one of those. I know they knocked our East Carolina Pirates out, but like there's a small part of me that always sees how they're doing every year. Like, is Coastal going to be in it again? All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I could get behind. I think I could get behind Coastal Carolina, or I could definitely get behind Murray State going up against Duke.
Yeah. Seeing a party crasher go to Omaha. Oh, because that's also going to be the ones where it's like, the big thing the past years has been like the Jello shot challenge. Like I don't know how many people see it on Twitter while the College World Series is going on, but there's a bar right near the ballpark that does I want to say it's like a fundraiser, but it's like we're going to keep track of which school's fans do the most Jello shots. And like LSU 2 years ago just completely obliterated the record. Oral Roberts was in that same College World Series.
Bob.
I want to say they were under 50 because, of course. But everyone knew when LSU went, it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah,
we're going to see a Ruthian performance.
Yeah,
the
Jello shots are going to be the Jello shots are going to be flying. So,
but like Coastal and Murray State, it's like, I mean, I don't think Murray State's ever gotten this far. So if they did, all their people are going to show up, and it's like, hell yeah, we may never get here again. Let's have a blast. And like they might do some numbers. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, yeah. If LSU might be feeding families if they can.
Oh yeah,
if they can. Advance past West Virginia, get to the World Series, and
that bar was
noise.
sleeping well in 2023 after the College World Series. Let me tell you.
Yeah, 100%. Our last topic for the night is players from our teams who get a bad rep from the fan bases who don't necessarily deserve it. And I'm gonna let you go first because to be quite honest, I'm still thinking about mine.
All right, that's fair. Real quick for a managerial one, and I do feel like public opinion's kind of turned in recent years, especially seeing how his career after New York went. And I will say I was one of these people that was on the other side of the fence at the time, but Willie Randolph never getting another managerial job after New York always was nuts to me. And it wasn't as if he didn't want jobs. He was a finalist for a couple. And, I'm not saying he was a perfect manager. I certainly had my grievances with him. But he had a winning record in all 3 full seasons he was Mets manager. That was his first ever managerial gig. You mean to tell me nobody else ever gave him another shot after that? And again, I had my issues with him. But on the whole,
yeah, it is kind of crazy that that was just it for him.
And it certainly helped that the Mets had the players coming into the team at that point arriving at the same time that Willie Randolph did. And as much as like he changed the culture, like that's intangible stuff, but I do think it mattered that Willie Randolph had been not only a part of the Yankees during their winning as a player, but he was also part of that as a coaching staff. He was around. He was with the dynasty. So
he was our third base coach for like a decade. So he was there for like almost all the almost all the like the modern age color TV like World Series that the Yankees won that we remember in our lifetime.
That knew what winning looked like and had been a part of that on both sides. So I do think him bringing in a sense of professionalism again, and however you want to qualify that is fine. But I do think it helped that this team needed that because they had gotten away from it. And you had Wright and Reyes coming in, and they were supposed to be the next building blocks. And then,
they need someone to like lead them as young
and show them what it looks like. And he was that. As a player, it's something that's going to continue to be interesting because I've mentioned on the show, I do think his number is going to join this bunch here in the not too distant future because he very nearly made the Hall of Fame in this past ballot. He's still relatively new on the ballot. He was pretty close, which tells me he probably will be elected in the next few years. That's Carlos Beltran. And because he's going to go in the Hall of Fame, and more than likely, he will go in wearing a Met hat. And conversations are going to have to be made at that point because in his Met career, made the All-Star game 5 times. He won 3 Gold Gloves in his career. They were all in New York. He won both of his Silver Sluggers in New York. And I do think it is patently unfair in his career. And as I look at his baseball reference, for his 7 years in New York, an OPS of 869, an OPS plus of 129, 149 home runs, 100 steals, drove in over 500 runs, and played the best center field defense in my lifetime of any Met center fielder. And I know there might be a few before my time that if someone wants to argue about there being the best Met center fielder ever, in the 25 years I've watched the Mets, no one comes close to Carlos Beltran. And yet I think for so many, his tenure gets defined by one moment. And I just think that's ridiculous because I mean, I've mentioned here before because we were talking about the different runs that have ended for the Mets. There were so many other things that went in that series that maybe it never even had to get to Game 7 that don't involve Carlos Beltran. But more to the point, they don't get to Game 7 in that series without him showing up like he always had throughout his career in the playoffs. That postseason, he slashed 278, 422, 556. So not a mouse in the playoffs. Got beat in one moment by someone who ended up being a damn good pitcher on what turned out to be his signature pitch.
Yeah, and that was a damn good pitch. Like whether you knew it was coming or not.
And Adam Wainwright made plenty of hitters look that silly with that exact pitch over the rest of his career. And
that just happened. Yeah, it just happened to Beltran at the worst possible time.
And take your pick of player. Anybody that you like or from any team. At no point in their career are they spotless. At some point, they've contributed to a devastating loss in some manner. I mean, I say that David Wright's going up this summer. Love him to death. In that 2015 World Series, outside of that home run in Game 3, David Wright's numbers weren't great. And also, if he throws a better ball to Lucas Duda in the ninth inning in Game 5, maybe that play doesn't happen.
Yeah. Maybe you win Game 5.
Everybody loves Tom Seaver, obviously, and I get it. They started him on short rest for Game 6 in the 1973 World Series when they were up 3-2. He got beat. Tom Seaver's legacy is no less sullied for losing that game, and nor should it be. And I'm going all over. Derek Jeter was a part of the 3-0. It is certainly not held against him. Now, obviously, I know he's got the rings and all that, but
yeah,
you can pick any player in baseball history. They all have a moment they want back.
Yeah. Well, the guy, the guy who I'm going to pick for the Yankees certainly had a hand in that 3-0 reverse sweep of 2004. For me, it might be the I guess it's probably the most obvious answer, but for me, it's Alex Rodriguez. And I think this was an interesting exercise overall, just because, it really made me think, because, I mean, to be honest, I was thinking about strictly players, just because, like, that was, when we were, behind the scenes in our super serious work chat that we have on Twitter. I think you said the word players, so, like, I only thought about players. I didn't think about, like, managers. I mean, I don't think, like, is Aaron Boone overhated? Sometimes I feel like he is, but then sometimes he makes a decision or does something that's like, no, we actually don't hate Aaron Boone enough. So, I wouldn't necessarily give him that title. I think that Joe Torre and Joe Girardi were properly appreciated for what they did. Neither of them were perfect. I know Joe Girardi definitely had times where he was a bit of a robot, and maybe that bothered fans. But ultimately, he had that team. He had the Yankees. He got us to that World Series. He led them to the World Series in 2009 as manager. And, he had the year one rebuild 2017 Yankees a game away from going to the World Series against a team that was cheating. And until last year, that was the closest that they had gotten. So I think that, if anyone does hate on Joe Girardi, it's definitely not deserved. I think everyone pretty much loves Joe Torre. I don't really hear anyone say anything bad about him. I think even when Joe Torre was fired in 2007, I think even, I wasn't as plugged in to what the fans and what the people were saying. Obviously, that was still like pre me on Twitter and very early Twitter days. And so, my baseball conversations were kind of just more amongst my friends, but I feel like even then it was kind of like, oh, like, what are we doing? Firing Joe Torre? Like, it's not.
Even that was more of like
it was just
all things come to an end type thing. It
was more just like the organization just decided it was time. So yeah, it was more that than anything else. And to an extent, I feel like it kind of was the same way with Girardi, even though it seemed like they had their mind made up. But for me, if it's a player in our lifetime, I feel like it's got to be Alex Rodriguez. Now, because I was thinking about it with, pretty much any player that's been a Yankee who's kind of gotten a bad reputation, whether it be from Yankee fans or, from baseball fans in general, it's like, I feel like most of them, for the most part, they kind of deserve it. Like, Roger Clemens is, kind of a dickhead, and he, he's a great pitcher, and, I love him for that. He was a big part of, two of those World Series victories, and helped us get back to a couple more. So, I always appreciate him for that. But like, if you are gonna sit here and tell me like, oh yeah, like Roger Clemens is like this or that, he's an asshole or whatever, like it's gonna be hard for me to really argue that, there are certain other players, like I think another one I thought of that kind of got a lot of hate was Gary Sanchez. And I think a lot of times with the Yankee players, like when the fan base turns on them, they definitely go too far. So like I feel like pretty much any player that becomes like a public enemy of the fan base is going to be like overhated, because that's just kind of how it is with Yankee fans. But for me, if I'm going to pick one person who, got a bad rep, but that didn't necessarily deserve all of it, it's probably Alex Rodriguez. Now, there were definitely times where I was fed up with him, where I was pissed at him, thought he was an asshole, and he probably is an asshole. I don't really know him that well, but
it doesn't make it easy to defend.
yeah, it doesn't. Like the fact that he could be an asshole is definitely passable. Obviously, he had the whole, because he got caught doing steroids the first time. I think it was like 2004 when he first like got traded over to the Yankees, was when he first like tested positive for something. And I think like, initially he admitted just like, yeah, I made a mistake. I did something stupid. He didn't try and deny it or play that game. He pretty much owned up to it right away. And then, I think so like that kind of got swept under the rug or whatever, or I don't even know if they were testing for it, but like, I don't think he got like suspended or really got in trouble for it. But then, I remember in like 2004 when he first came over, he started off really rough. Derek Jeter had a really rough start to that season too. Obviously, they turn it on, they get to the playoffs, they blow the 3-0 lead. And, aside from, that one play where he punched the ball out of, I think it was Doug Minkiewicz's glove.
He was in the play. It was Bronson Arroyo that he knocked.
Or it was Bronson Arroyo's glove. That's right. Yeah, because Bronson Arroyo was like running to first. A-Rod was running, and then he just swatted. And, people remember that.
I can't even necessarily hate the fact that he slapped the ball out.
Yeah, I really don't have a problem with it. But
it's him doing I was just doing this. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's like Tyrese Halliburton every time he gets called for a foul, like looking like that man. I swear that man probably thinks he's never done anything wrong in his life. But obviously he gets a lot of shit because there have been a lot of shaky playoff performances. He had in 2006, I think I think it was the ALCS against the Tigers in 2006, where he was in Detroit and he like tried to get a girl's number, like threw her a ball, like asking for a number. And then she just wrote like, oh, I don't talk to losers or something like that, and gave it back to him. He had his like beef with Derek Jeter, which obviously, who like the fan base is going to side with in that, in that ordeal. But I mean, he may have had some points in some things he said. I mean, he was a much better baseball player than Derek Jeter.
It's crazy. A-Rod, I think probably had to be like, but I do all the things that like on the field that everybody wants Jeter to do. Like, I'm right here.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, I think that, maybe some Yankee fans don't, look at him with the fondest memories. But at the end of the day, he won 2 MVPs as a Yankee. He was a 7-time All-Star with the Yankees. Really like obviously played the beginning of his career in Seattle and Texas, but like really played, the majority of his career was as a Yankee, and it wasn't, some of it was great, some of it wasn't, but I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, he got the 2 MVPs. Like I think that 07 season honestly was like historically good.
Oh yeah.
They don't win the 2009 World Series without A-Rod, for all the times, that he's come up short for the Yankees in October. He came through in 09 and, they got a championship out of that. And then, obviously after that, things kind of went downhill. And then I think 2013 was when like shit was really hitting the fan with him. Like he was hurt and not playing. Then he gets suspended, misses the whole 2014 season. But I mean, he came back, in his age 39 season for the Yankees in 2015, and he had a pretty good year and helped that team get back to the playoffs. Obviously, they lose the 1-game wild card, but I mean, and I don't remember that game vividly, but I mean, he did get MVP votes that year in 2015 when he came back, and that was like the year after Jeter retired. So that was kind of the first year where, they had missed the playoffs the last 2 years, but that was the first year where it was kind of like, all right, like that era of Yankee baseball is like over. So all things considered, I'd say his Yankee career gets kind of gets underrated in a lot of ways because of the controversy that surrounded him. But I mean, then obviously like 2016 he was done, but he announces his retirement. He has his last game. He gets he gets that hit. He comes out. He plays third base in the 9th inning. It was a nice moment. So
I got forced out the door on it. Like I remember that whole situation being very weird.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, hey, we don't want to cut you, or we don't want to DFA you, like, but like, you're kind of done here. Like,
He had
you think
negative
you could
1.2 WAR. I did not remember that.
yeah, you think you could just, you think you could just like retire. You're 40, like, come on, man. Yeah,
If
so it
you could
definitely
just clean your
ended.
locker out, that would be great.
Yeah, if you could just like get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
that would be fantastic. So it might be an obvious answer, but yeah, for me it's Alex Rodriguez. I think I think as time has gone by, I think Yankee fans, at least the real ones, I think they appreciate A-Rod more and more. Time kind of heals all wounds, but if you're still like holding on to whatever shit A-Rod, whatever, if you're still holding on to like whatever shit A-Rod did that you didn't like during his Yankee tenure, it's time to forgive with the 1 and the 3, like like
the respect.
but forgive like that.
Weirdly enough, and I feel like this never really gets brought up when people talk about A-Rod's postseason struggles. He had a 1014 OPS for that postseason in 04. Now, I know the numbers for the last 3 or 4 games aren't great, but like he was driving the bus like for the first, I think they went 4 with, so like for the first 7 games of that run in 2004, he was doing exactly what they asked him to do. And then I think ultimately, I think how that went down, and he was always going to get the larger share of the credit or blame. After he got brought there, and he's supposed to be the savior, and he was supposed to be the guy that they were going to get the one up on the Red Sox for. So if they won, it was going to be because of him, and if they lost, well, it ain't going to be Jeter, Posada, and Bernie's fault, because they had already done all the winning. So like you're supposed to do all the winning, and then he didn't. So it's just crazy to think that if they get that one more win, like
you're
maybe
probably
it goes more differently for him. Like
you're probably looking at his tenure very differently.
It's like even in like obviously the 06 one was very bad. He had a 205 OPS for that, which I forgot it was. I remember like Torrey hitting him eighth, and that was like such a huge thing.
Yeah.
But the next year against Cleveland, he had an 820 OPS. He had 267. Like that's perfectly fine. And then he had the 1308 in 09, and then 597 the next year, and then like kind of came back down to earth for the next few. But again, like if that cloud's just not over his head, I mean, that's a sliding doors moment for multiple reasons, in the context of the rivalry and all that. But maybe like A-Rod ends up being the A-Rod that you guys envisioned when you traded for him. But I mean, like you've said in the past, probably was the better shortstop, played a better third base than I think people give him credit for. Offense is always what sells, but he was a fantastic defender before his body started to break down.
Yeah, he was an excellent shortstop too. So I'm sure that moving the third was definitely like an adjustment for him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it never his defense at third base was really never a problem. Like maybe an error here and there. And I mean, people could say that what they want about some of, I guess, his quote unquote like antics, like smacking the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's hand, or yelling. I know people got really mad when he did the "I got it" thing to the Blue Jays, but it's like, bro, fucking recognize your teammate's voice. Like,
yeah,
like if you fall for that, like I'm sorry, that's on you.
Yeah, it's like if a dude just yells "ha," like you're not used to like just a bunch of drunks sitting in the first couple of rows by third base yelling too. Like,
yeah,
you play minor league ball. I know what those are like.
Yeah, everyone's doing it. So, yeah, it's
But then it's but I also get like, who wants to really defend the dude that's got a painting of himself as half centaur? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, actually, that's a swell fella. You don't know the half of it.
yeah. Actually, if you think about it, he's actually kind of selling himself short. But yeah, that'll do it for us here today. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Middle Initial Pod. I know they are back. They've been live streaming every day of the week, so be sure to tune into that, and be sure to follow us at 4 to 7 Pod, at JD's Just Talking, at Meta World Beast. And we'll see you next time. Let's go Yankees. Let's go Mets. Peace.
Yeah.